Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this regularly scheduled Township Board of Supervisors meeting. Our first item will be a pledge to the flag. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have had no executive sessions since our last meeting, so at this point I would like to open up the floor to communication from citizens. So if you are on Zoom and would like to address the board, please click the raise hand button. If you're in the audience, please raise your hand to be recognized. Please. How you doing? Name and address for the record.
1318 East 11th Avenue. I come here to thank you guys for putting the speed bumps in. I know it when you first put it in, it worked great. The traffic really just was very low, and people were taking their time coming through the neighborhood. However, past tense, I said were. I don't know how it came about that the Enterprise Car Place was put in down there, but personally, I don't think there was much future planning on this because, as you know, Sherman Street will be closing, and right now we're having problems with traffic, and they're not even stopping for the speed bumps. They're just nailing them. They're just flying over them like crazy. It's the customers, because I already went down and kind of chewed the supervisor out. It's not the employees, it's the customers coming to get, you know, their rental cars or whatever. And it's created a problem because, well, you know how narrow our street is, okay? There's no sidewalks. The kids are walking down the street to the church to catch the bus. There's kids that live on Whiteford that are now having to cut through neighbors' yards to get to the bus stop. Unfortunately, the parents that worry about this, I don't have kids, but I do watch them going to and from. They can't be here tonight because our kids have sports and stuff. We've called the school district, we've called the bus company, and they refuse to change the bus stop back to 1306 11th Avenue where it was before. So those kids wouldn't have to walk all the way down, you know. And my mom's 85 years old. She likes to walk down the road, and they won't slow down for her either. You know, like we have the hearing impaired kids in the neighborhood. They don't slow down for them either. So I guess the question we wanted to ask is, what's our next step? How can we deal with this for like the upcoming school year? Obviously, it's not going to work for this year, but do we incorporate the police with this, or do we need to get a petition, or how can we resolve this? Because it's, the bumps were working great.
Yeah.
And I can tell you this, it got that bad that they even had to come out and re-anchor the one in front of my house because people just fly over them. And I know on Whiteford Road, they had to redo the surface and re-anchor them because people weren't paying attention. They were just flying over them. So, and it started since the car rental place went in, so I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, so I guess we're kind of running into the problem that you can't legislate good behavior.
Right. But we can try to look out for the safety of the children. That's the main concern, is the safety of the children, because we have a lot more in the neighborhood now. I've lived there for 33 years, and we've got more kids in there now than we ever had in a long time. So
I guess I'll open up the floor to either the chief or the manager to see if anybody else has any ideas. I'm a little bit at a loss myself.
When we had our public meeting and you brought the school bus stop up, and I told you at the time that I would reach out to the school and ask, and I did, if they could consider it. I didn't get a hard no, but I didn't get a warm yes either. So
okay.
It sounds like.
So why don't we do that?
Well, I mean, it's the same bus company that stops every 10 yards up on Sherman Street Hill in Pleasureville to pick up these kids, because it's a dangerous situation up there too. We're not asking for every 10 yards. We're just asking to have them put back to 1306 11th Avenue, and then the kids on Whiteford Road, obviously they're gonna need some pickup there because they can't walk around that bend. You guys have seen it. It's
Yeah. Well, after the first time we talked, I drove through there and very slowly, which was a good thing because I came around that blind corner and there was a dad and his son on a bike with training wheels.
Yes,
And not even out in the middle of the road, but
yes.
it came up on me fast and I was going probably 15 miles an hour.
Yes. Well, and that, right where the church is, the bus actually comes around the bend and stops right there, right after the bend. So, you know, it's kind of a hairy situation there, and it's a narrow street, there's no sidewalks, so, you know. So what do we do next? That's what we're trying to figure out. I mean, we've stood out there, we've yelled at people, we get the bird flown at us, you know, and
What address did you say it should be moved to?
well, it was at 1306. That was a couple years ago, but it was at 1306 11th Avenue. Because there's like, I think there's about six kids in that area. They're 2 doors up from me that you know, have to walk all the way down to the church. So they can meet there and back to where it was. And as far as the kids on Whiteford Road, I don't know what to do for them, but, you know, it may not be a problem with them cutting through the yards now because maybe the neighbors don't know it, but in the future, it may be a problem because they actually have to come from Whiteford Road through the neighbor's backyard, through their front yard, and then across 11th Avenue to get to the bus stop. So, yeah.
Regarding the overall speed, I really don't, I'm at a loss for what to suggest because some of the things that you put in place to help with speeding or speed humps, so we have those narrow or windy roadways slow people down. We can't really change the windingness. They're straight roadways, but it's narrow.
We had some direction restrictions that we talked about. The other thing that we had talked about was sidewalks in the area, getting kids off the streets onto the sidewalks. That's not an easy thing to just go do, but
No.
maybe it's easier than.
Well, once the directional thing, you weren't going to change the direction until Sherman Street closed, right?
Till the street,
Till the
bridges are both completed and reopened,
Until
right?
they
We
were
talked about
completed.
doing one-ways, if you recall.
Well,
Right, but Everett's Lane was
they're
going to
gonna-
open up.
They're gonna close Sherman Street, I think it's June 11th. We just got that notification the other day.
Is that
Some
gonna
of the
help this or hurt it?
It's probably gonna hurt the situation. Now,
Yes.
cut-through traffic doesn't have anywhere to go because cut-through traffic, most of the cut-through traffic would want to go to the city on Ebert's. They can't because the bridge is out. Once Sherman Street's closed and Ebert's is the way to get to the city, even though that's not going to be the posted detour route. The posted detour route is Market Street to North Hills Road, and that's the posted.
Right.
The locals are gonna know this is,
Well, we had talked
quicker
about
way.
making that one way across there, right?
Yes.
we did talk about making it one way. A couple residents, which were only a couple from the neighborhood, questioned me afterwards, do I think that's gonna make it worse? And I don't know the answer to that. They were coming from the angle of if people get irritated, that they get in there and find themselves in this one-way situation, or they even will be more likely to speed because
Well, we
they're
could put-
frustrated.
We could put signs up at the other entrances, Ebert's Lane closed, because it will be to traffic that direction,
So you're saying that
but to come one
both bridges
way.
are going to be closed at the same time?
They will not.
No,
What
Everett's
I'm
Lane is
saying-
going to
What
open.
I'm saying
Okay.
is, if we limit Ebert's Lane from that bridge to one direction, whichever side is limited, we can put up.
But at that public meeting, the majority of the neighbors that attended didn't want us fooling with restricting Ebert's Lane Bridge.
Yeah, because we can't get out. That's about the only way we can get out. So the only way other people would be getting on 30 would be North Hills or Loucks Mill Road. That's the only other avenues from that side, from like the city. And it's not a good, I mean, it's a tough,
Yeah,
it's a tough
it's-
thing. I get it. But I'm so afraid that somebody's gonna get hurt. It's gotten worse. People, people have become real Karens, and they've been a real pain in the butt, but
Is there a time of day when you see that the people are, maybe they're violating all day long? I don't know, but is there a?
well, basically, it's in the mornings, because everybody's rushing to work. So about 9 o'clock, it slows down. And then it picks up again like around 2:30, 3. So, and, they're the times that the kids are walking back and forth from
Yeah.
the bus stops. So, like I said, people have stood out there and tried to get them to slow down, and it just doesn't work. And if you check, I'm pretty sure you'll see that the township was out there re-anchoring these speed humps because people don't take their time going over them. They tear them up.
And the speed humps we put in aren't subtle. When you hit them, you hit them.
What if you're driving someone else's car? It
Rental
doesn't
car.
matter, does it?
I mean, and lately now, since the Enterprise has been put in there, we've got truck traffic coming down our road now too. And they're not making deliveries.
Where's the Enterprise?
Right behind the car lot.
At Jim Volvo?
It's not Gianvalvo anymore, but
It's, well,
Mazda.
it is.
Mazda
but it's,
place.
Yeah, Jim Volvo Mazda?
yeah, I
no,
think it's the Mazda
it's,
place right off of 11th.
What's the Genesis?
The Apple
Genesis.
Hyundai,
Hyundai.
that it?
Yeah, Genesis is the Lexus is to
Yeah.
Toyota.
So you've got that, and then behind that is the garage where the Enterprise moved into.
Is it part of the dealership or
No.
is it?
They left
Separate.
up on 30 and moved down there. So obviously you guys don't know
Okay.
anything about this, right?
Well, we don't get to tell them where they.
Well,
can or
this is
can't
true.
have their
This is
business.
true. Well, you would think that they would need to apply for a permit or something.
Well, I'm sure
but-
they did that,
Okay.
but if they met the requirements, then.
Yeah, we can't stop them just.
No,
because-
no, no. It's not them doing it. It's the customers that are
Right.
coming in
Right.
and out.
So that's Apple Nissan?
It used to be. It's not Apple anymore.
Yeah, it's a Mazda.
Mazda, no, it's.
Yeah, it's
It
Mazda.
was
I can't remember the
Genesis
name
of
it.
York.
I think it's Mazda. It's Mazda something. I can't remember. But
And Enterprise is now in that facility.
They're,
Yes,
no,
they're-
they're in the old body shop
yes,
that was behind,
Behind.
right beside the church.
right. And it's
because-
right on that bend. And there's no
Oh,
stop
okay.
sign coming out of there, so they fly out of there and they don't even look because there's no stop sign there. So that's another little glitch
An
there.
opportunity, we could put a stop sign there.
It's a private drive. We can ask them to put, but it's a private driveway, so we
Right.
can't put one up.
Chief, if they put one up, can you guys enforce that?
We cannot enforce the stop sign because it's on private property, but we can enforce vehicles entering and crossing the roadway.
I mean, I realize you guys are doing everything you can, and, it's as much as the.
Yeah, we're not giving you any pushback. We feel for you.
Well, because you've been out there and you've seen what the situation is, and it's, like I said, when you guys put them in, man, it was awesome. There was hardly any traffic. People were taking their time. They were actually waving to you when they'd go by, but now it's like boom, 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 and
We
Yeah.
put a speed bump on the edge of our private, or of our public roadway that is abutting the private entrance to the.
Yeah, you could do that. But they would come out, make the turn left or right and hit us.
Well, they'd have to go over our speed bump as they enter onto
Yeah,
our
and
public
and
Yeah,
road.
it's
can
also
you have
about
a
spacing.
three-sided speed bump that they actually have to go up onto it and back down?
But now here's a problem with that though. When it rains very heavily, the water down there lays.
Create a pond.
So, I mean, I'm sorry, but we're just trying to find a solution, that's all. I mean, it's,
Well, let us get our heads together again and
Sure.
see if there's anything else.
Sure. And you're still gonna go with the one-way plan then, or? I think that would work, but,
But
I think
the,
residents were opposing it.
if we,
I'm not.
some were. I can't quantify the number because not even half of the neighborhood was at our public meeting.
Correct.
The problem, I guess, for the lack of the better word, with the one-ways, and if, to take them out, because it's not easy. So to do the one-way streets and have that enforceable, the board has to pass an ordinance, so there's a process to that.
Okay.
So if the phone rings off the hook, hey, we don't like the one-ways, now we,
Kinda
not that
You gotta
we
go
can't
back.
undo what we did, but it's not as easy as the speed humps don't need an ordinance. We can put them in, take them out,
Okay.
whatever. So
What about
that's,
traffic signs? The reason why I'm asking is because we have a couple people that like to park on that road, and it makes it difficult sometimes when the trash truck's coming through or the school buses, you know. So now, if you don't want to go with the one-way, can we not have cars park on that street, make it a little easier for passing?
Make it easier, you make it faster, too.
You're right, never mind. I think I'll set my old dump truck out there, maybe they'll hit
Traffic
that. so-
calming feature, when they narrow the roadway, they slow down traditionally.
Unintended consequences.
Okay, well, that wasn't a good idea. Just thought process there wasn't good, so.
Yeah, so you're seeing the same dilemma that we have.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, like I said, I'm not, you know, like, the speed bumps were, like I said, past tense, great, but now it's, and you know that they've had to go out and re-anchor them, right?
oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
fix the asphalt.
That was up on Whiteford Road, but the one in front of my house, they had to re-anchor, and I think a school bus did that, bus number 6, I can tell you, she flies over that, so, we've
Not
still
that
got-
you're paying attention.
No, it's right there in front of my bay window. How could I not miss it? All right, so I'll wait till you
Yeah.
guys come up with something and,
Yeah, we'll
I've
give it some more
also
thought, but I'm having a hard time saying that I can guarantee anything.
well, I get it. I understand. I get it. And of course, some of the neighbors that have complained because of the one-way situation, whatever, it kind of got out that this was gonna happen. A lot of the residents were complaining, and I'm like, shut up. Unless you come to the meeting and know what's going on, shut up, you know? Come to the meeting, voice your opinions, and, you know, you'll get an answer, so.
Well,
But,
thanks for,
yes, thank you for
bringing it up
listening,
again.
and I appreciate it, and I'm glad that you guys know what it looks like out there, so.
Yep.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the board this evening? Anybody on the electronic audience? All right, we'll move on then. So environmental engineering report, Diana?
Good evening. Nothing to add to the report. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Actually, I do have a question. Like, some time ago, I'm not sure when it vanished from the report, but there was a study you guys had done on the sewer. And it was going back and forth between you and staff for comments. I said, where does that stand? Because I saw it disappeared now.
Yeah, I think that staff has looked at it, and you know, I don't know if we want to move forward with that, or
Yeah, don't
I
we
think
have that for
the issue
discussion?
really went away.
Not sore. Denny and I just talked about it today. So we're still, between him and I are going over the report, brainstorming what options we may have, and then present that to the board. So it's kind of out of BH's hands now and between Denny and I.
Okay, thank you.
Which one was that for? Was that for the
That was to study,
the diameter of the pipe?
no, that
Different
was
one.
to study the possibility of us removing ourselves from the city's treatment plant
Oh, yeah, okay,
And-
okay.
building extra tankage at our own treatment plant.
extra
that
capacity.
study.
Right. So it looked at both the wastewater plant and the interceptor leading up to the plant.
Anything else?
Right,
Thanks,
thank you.
Diana. John, civil engineering report.
I don't really have very much to add, other than on Friday, we did receive a submittal for York Suburban School project. And one of the missing elements, one of the residents asked me about that. The traffic study didn't come in with that report, and both Randall and I sent emails to Crabtree Rohrbaugh and to K&W, who's their engineering consultant, saying, hey, we got this submittal, but we didn't get everything that goes with the submittal. So in our opinion, the clock isn't running. So technically, if they believe they have a complete submittal, I think it's pretty clear without the traffic study, they don't. We scoped it for them. The expiration date would be something like August, I'm going to say like 19th or something like that. So I have a reminder in my calendar to bring it to the board, and Mr. Cox and I talked about this today. A reminder in my calendar to the week before and in my engineer's report, if we don't hear back from them, we'll recommend to the board that whether we reject it or deny it. But when I asked Mr. Heilman, did they sign our time extension? Because it's a complicated project, and the answer is no, they didn't sign the time extension yet. So I think they're thinking the clock's running. I don't think it is. And
So that's why I was looking your way, James. Is the clock running or isn't it?
So when you submit a plan, there's case law that says upon first review of the plan is when technically the clock would start running. Now, the question is, has the plan been officially reviewed? Is that going to Planning Commission? Is that upon the township engineer's review? I don't know the fact pattern of what would be contested there, but if a plan is not fully submitted, then an argument also could be made that, well, there's nothing to review yet because everything that's supposed to be submitted is not there. So I think the township engineer is justified in what he just said, that the clock is not running. But again, I'm just going off of what I've heard thus far, and I'm kind of flying a little bit by the seat of my pants as it relates to it. But the deciding factor per case law is upon first review. That's when the clock starts running. There is case law behind that.
Is there case law defining what means a complete package to constitute a first review?
I will review that for you and circle back.
Have we written or communicated in writing to the parties that we don't have a complete package? I guess that's going to be.
And it can't go to review until there is a complete package.
Yeah.
John initially sent an email, and I did a follow-up to that email to all the parties that are involved, which includes the consultant, the school district, and indicated that what's your plan here? You're going to see that we get the traffic study, as well as I asked them for the time extension that most everybody grants the township for additional time for a plan of this complexity. So they haven't responded. I know that my email has been read because I got that response today.
Oh, good. Good.
So I know it's been read. This has not been responded to.
Well, let's just make sure we have a paper copy of that somewhere in a vault.
I guess I'm just concerned as to the wording in the correspondence with them then, based on what James just said. If we say, as we reviewed the plan, we realized you did not, is different than we cannot review your plan because it is not a complete submittal.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
I think if you worded it the latter way, you've built a better defense.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I have not done what would be characterized as any formal review.
Okay.
All I was doing was reviewing the documentation that was submitted, and this is what I would consider an incomplete application package.
Probably wouldn't be a bad idea for us to make sure James has a copy of that outgoing email, just for the.
See that he gets it.
And then the only last thing that I'm going to mention is there are a number of zoning hearing cases that are going to be reviewed on June, right? I think there's 5 zoning cases.
That is correct, on the June 6th zoning
I
hearing
didn't
board
know
meeting.
if the board had, if you had an opportunity to review them. One, I'll just point out, we had a number of sketch plan meetings for a car wash, similar to the car wash that's over in West York. And they want to go in sort of a problem building the CK Spa, which has been a sort of a challenge for the township. And they met with us informally. I think I provided a copy of their sketch plan, but the building doesn't fit on the drawing. They're in the setbacks. And so they applied for a variance, and I pointed that out to the board. I'm not sure what they'll plead for a hardship, but they are going to the zoning hearing board in June.
John, help me understand what this issue 111 is, Sherman Street.
Oh, I think I got that worked out, but
Okay. I saw
we were
the
doing
photos.
we were doing a stormwater review, and I'll just tell you, the township just changed their intergov system where we coordinate
Right.
plan reviews, and so the stormwater review came in after they submitted their building permit. It's an old single-family lot, so when I was looking through it, we require, the builder almost tore my head off, this was like 3 weeks ago. We require 2 parking spaces per dwelling unit. Does that mean, so you couldn't tell, but when you look at the building footprint, the garage is only 14 feet wide. Well, that's a 1-car garage. I said, where's the other parking space? It's outside the garage. No, you can't do that. That doesn't mean you can't park there. You have to have 2 parking spaces per dwelling unit, and those parking spaces have to be beyond the front face of the building. And and we had this ordinance many municipalities have this ordinance, and you probably say, why? Because in older neighborhoods, people will cut into their front yard and park, and it looks like hell, you know? So it's an aesthetic thing. So when I told the builder that you need 2 parking spaces, well, the picture I show you, there's enough room to park alongside that garage, and he's behind the front face of the building and not encroaching in the side setback, which is just a 15-foot side setback. But when I told him he needed, I incorrectly told him he needed a 2-car garage. He doesn't need a 2-car garage. He needs 2 parking spaces parked beyond the front face of the building.
Okay, so what's the storm?
Well, he's gonna change his parking to get beyond the front face of the building. So it'll be a 1-car garage, and the other parking space will be next to the garage.
Okay, and how's the stormwater review factor into that?
Well, the only reason why the building permit got issued is because we've just changed the township just
System.
has a new intergov system,
Right?
and somehow the building permit got issued without the stormwater. And that doesn't normally happen. Normally, before they issue the building permit, but we couldn't communicate and get on intergov. It's been, I believe, corrected.
Okay, so the stormwater will take into account the additional lot.
Yep,
on
and the
pro-
paving.
We're all caught up. It's
Yep.
all moving. It's just a
Correct.
time. Okay.
All right.
When I saw the pictures, I thought there was an issue beyond what I was reading. So, all right.
Any other questions? Thanks, John.
Thank you.
All right, now we have our consent agenda, items A through G. Anything that anybody wants to have removed for further discussion?
I'd like to pull item G for further discussion.
Okay,
With that, I'll move to approve consent agenda items A through F.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, item G.
Yeah, just a question, clarification. I saw the reason for this refund was listed as exemption. Do we know under what provision this property was exempted?
I do not, but I could find out. I don't. I saw the exemption, but I don't know the reason for the exemption.
Because I know we've done a lot of these for years. I don't ever remember seeing a single-family home being exempted before, so I'm just curious why that particular one was exempted.
Is this time critical?
I'm not sure.
Is this under the Homestead Act? Is that how that could be? I guess not. Can't find a quick answer.
Any thoughts of tabling this one until the next meeting?
If it's not critical, I would say yes.
I don't think it's ultimate like that kind of critical. We'll have a meeting fourth week in June, so I know there's several others for that meeting. Terry just sent them through. So,
Yeah, like I said, what stood out to me, this is different, is it's a single-family home, it just said exemption. I'm not sure why a single-family home would be exempt from property tax.
I will find the answer and get that answer to the board.
And it's not like it'll break the bank if we hit a time limit that we have to refund the money anyway.
Right.
Do you want to do that, George?
Yeah, that's fine. Just table it till next time.
Process, motion and second?
Do we need to?
Motion to table it?
Yeah, motion to table.
Okay, yeah, motion to table item G on the consent agenda till the next meeting.
Second.
Motion and a second? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, no bids, proposals, contracts, or agreements. So we have subdivision and land development, Mount Zion Commons review / comment of proposed location of public plaza and child's play area. Just to make sure, this is not a plan review. This is for informational purposes for us only, so that we can see what they're proposing and they can know if they're headed in the right direction generally. Is that a good way to say it, James?
That's correct. It's very similar to, there was another presentation 2 meetings ago about the potential for apartments back here at York Galleria. They came in front of the board to gauge your position, I guess, to a degree as to how you wanted to treat that project. This would be in a similar vein. So you're not deliberating. You don't have to comment. You don't have to say anything. They're just putting it forth to you for feedback. Is that?
Yeah, the developer basically asked if they could do exactly what you just described, so they don't go forward assuming that this is going to meet the intent and get to the next step and have to start from square one again. That's, again, what James said. It's up to the board whether you want to entertain it or not.
Nothing's been submitted, correct?
That's correct.
Nothing's been submitted, no process has been started. This is just, hey, wouldn't this be nice? It's not, that's not a legal term, but that's,
That's a Beach Boys term.
yeah.
So the two things that they have on the site plan is they, again, this is just a aerial view. There's no 3D or anything, but they attempted to move the public plaza more towards the center, and then to the right of it, towards Building 6, there's a designated area for a children's play area. And just a note on that children's play area, from the description I received verbally, is it's basically a strip of grass or artificial grass. There was no intention of play structures.
And where are they proposing the plaza?
Right between Building 6 and Building 4.
That,
Space and this, yeah.
and that little thing right there.
That's 1,500 square feet, this is 3,000.
And 3,000 square feet meets the minimum required for the number of square foot of all the buildings.
What do they envision in that proposed 3,000 square foot public plaza? Are those tables? Are they umbrellas, landscaping? What's kind of, I'm trying to ascertain what
I
that's.
didn't get a whole lot of information, but tables, planters, like flowers and whatnot. That stone wall that they're removing along Market Street was gonna be incorporated here, like they were gonna incorporate it in their original site, public plaza site. But again, it's tough to see exactly what it's looking like from an aerial view like this, but.
I thought that we also said that that was not in lieu of having features out along the perimeter on the sidewalk.
You mean an additional plaza, or, because they'll still have to have their benches
Right.
and streetlights along the sidewalks.
Which they do hire, they have them.
I see, yeah.
Fine, fine.
Mark, do you know what this number 2 section is along East Market Street? It's, for lack of a better term, southeast of the 16 pump stations. Is that a dumpster location? I didn't see the legend here. Maybe it's here, but I didn't see it attached.
I would assume not, Charles, as far as a dumpster. That might be they were gonna put charging stations in for cars. Maybe that's, the dumpster looks like it's northeast of the building, of building number 1.
There is a dumpster. There again, the dumpster is proximate to a plaza area, which is one of the things I wasn't excited about. But at least you have a cartway difference here now. And it's enclosed, and it faces the other direction.
But I don't, to answer your question, that number 2 spot, is that where you would have air compressor? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there are a whole bunch of numbers in circles, and I don't see a legend for any of it.
Well, the numbers and circles, I think, delineates how many parking spaces are there.
Oh, so
Oh, so
those are
that two would
parking
be-
spaces.
So the two would be 2 parking spaces for a charging station there on East Market.
I don't know if it's a charging, I know he mentioned about charging stations, I just don't know where they're located.
Or an air pump. Could be the air pump. Hopefully there's an air pump. I guess when you look at, to the extent. What is this, building 6, I think it is? Building 6, again, southeast pointed end, is that just gonna be is that gonna be the turf there?
Center for apartments or plaza here.
Plaza for them.
Talking about that.
Just that?
It's 3,000-foot
That's the
public
public.
plaza here.
They're talking like that,
And it just,
private plaza for the
to me, it looks like it's just kind of shoehorned into an island between traffic and not exactly,
The 3,000 Island.
yeah, not, well, no, both of them. I don't know that that's,
It's gonna be the chicken restaurant, right?
I think yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just,
I don't think that was
Gonna have
exactly
the
my
drive-through?
intent, but I don't know what the rest of you were thinking.
Well, at one point, from my perspective, we moved it a little more internal from East Market. I'm not saying that we didn't need sidewalks and benches and crossing patterns and so forth, infrastructure right there for pedestrians at that corner of the site. Maybe they could have enhanced it a little bit, but I'm more pleased that they're moving a little more internal. And they have this 3,000 square foot area adjacent to one of the apartments for any kids or children to at least,
1,500 square feet.
well, what's this?
15. This is,
300,
That's-
3,000 over here.
that's an area that could become a community center or a plaza for the apartments. That is
Correct.
not,
That's not
that's
public.
not the public area.
Oh, that's not gonna be plaza. Oh, it's just the
This little
15.
thing right here,
1500,
1504 or
okay.
whatever it is, 1540 square feet is what they're talking about.
Well, at one level, you could, if the community building were there, that is an additional, it's not plaza, but it is community facility assets, but not everyone could enjoy it.
I read the comment too, and I think, I mean, again, it says area dedicated as community center for apartments or plaza. So I don't know whether that's, if it's a plaza, whether that says it's dedicated to the apartments.
My understanding is that is for the
It is.
the three apartments to enjoy, not for the public.
Okay.
That's my
The
understanding.
plaza is for the public.
The public
is for the
plaza
public.
is for the public and the apartment goers, but that one south of Building 6 is reserved for the apartment renters, is my understanding.
Well, then you have you're right, Mr. Swanley. It looks like maybe they put something in there in the back. I like that they moved it into the site, but I don't know if it's the ideal design or shape, functionality here. Location.
Community center and then the small area for
I
the.
think that summarizes my opinion, Charles. This is better than what we had before,
But not much.
but we don't really understand exactly what it means. Because to me, I look at the drawing and there's two different places left labeled as plaza. And I'm confused.
Yeah,
And one could disappear into community building, and it's not really public plaza. It's a private plaza.
Right.
Yeah. Which, again, a community building might be a good asset, but it doesn't meet our objective.
And, yeah.
have we said enough? Or too much?
No, you're just sharing feedback. No, you're not, I've heard initial opinions. I think that,
And
I
that's
think,
all it's,
I think that, I think you've provided
Bench, I think that's what that is. And they're
information for them to
brickles.
chew on for a little bit. And if they want to create a question out of that or have an answer for a potential question out of that,
Might be some slight variation, but
I
that's
think
what they-
clearly you're not certain what the community center / plaza is and who it's for. Mark, you think that that's for just the apartments, but just reading the comments, you're not certain whether that's the case or not. And then the second thing that you're curious about is what exactly is going in this center area, this plaza. And I think a third, and I don't know whether it's a quandary or question, is what does this look like out front here with benches and lights and along Market Street? And what is this 2-spot area right here? I assume that's parking spots, but is that, I mean, it almost looks like it could be handicap.
yeah, it
parking
looks like
spots.
handicapped on one side and
Yes.
regular on the other. And then there's a couple of little bump outs on it with hatching in it that could be charging station, could be air, could be
My only concern
none of the
is
above.
this is the drive-through
Yes,
for
so
the
I
restaurant.
think if you were to summarize it, that would that would be
Alongside
the
public
consistent
plaza
themes that
to
I'm
get
hearing.
to, I guess this is where they,
Mark, I have a question.
Yes.
Yeah.
The area that they're showing here for some kind of play area, hypothetically speaking, I know you said we didn't want to require park space because access to the public wasn't an option. Assuming we did this, assuming we followed our ordinance and we were requiring a park space instead of taking a fee, how much area would they be required to
Well,
put in for that?
our ordinance says that the township's generally not interested in park land less than 3 acres.
Okay.
And but there's a caveat there. It says unless that park would have a connection to another existing park.
Okay.
So I assume that means a pathway, something nearby. Does that mean, I guess this would be problematic to have a public park because we don't have any, other than Market Street, Mount Zion Road, we don't have any public roadways to have public
And I'm not
access
asking
to
for that
it.
reason. I think where I'm at with this is it just seems, and somebody else I think made the comment about it being shoehorned in. It just seems like if you really want to dedicate some space for kids to play, you need something more than that. Maybe 3 acres is too much, but I think when that particular requirement was put in the motion that we voted on, I know I went into that thinking this was going to be something bigger than this in terms of recreational space.
John, do you remember?
I'm gonna tell you what, it's 170 units, Randall just told me. It's .02 acres per dwelling unit. We used to have per parcel, and some people would say, you're getting .02 acres. So it's 3.4 acres of, that would be the minimum recreation size. That they would need to get exempt from the recreation fee.
Okay. That's my only.
the only concern I had was it appears that Building 4 is going to be a restaurant, and it appears that it's going to have a drive-through lane all the way around it. And the beginning of the drive-through lane is adjacent to where they're now having the public plaza. So there would be cars constantly, I would say constantly, but periodically going through the drive-through adjacent to the public plaza.
There isn't a lot, I'm just making a comment, there's not a lot of space that's not concrete or asphalt on the site.
I'm open to newer ideas. How's that?
Yes. All right, if there are no other comments, I think we'll move on. Don?
No, I'm good.
All right. Communication from supervisors. Charles?
I'm good tonight. Huh? You missed my PSATs update last time. so-
Darn.
Yeah.
All right, solicitors report, James.
You have a copy of my report? No further updates.
Okay, anybody?
Good.
Managers report.
I have two verbal updates to my written report. Number one is we have a sanitary sewer emergency on Raleigh Drive. It was discovered last week with our sewer main. The road was collapsing, and we televised the sewer main and found we have a problem with the sewer main. The collapse has crushed our pipe. There was a water main break right in that area over the winter, so we're in discussions with York Water about that. We'll see how that goes. But I authorized the emergency repair, so we hired Kinsley Construction. It's probably gonna take them 2 weeks. They're out there actively working now, and we'll worry about whose responsibility it is at a later date. But we couldn't take it's a extremely busy line, and so I couldn't take the chance that it would collapse and totally close and back sewer up into people's homes. We did not have that situation at all. So once I have the final bills from Kinsley and such, then I'll bring it onto an agenda for you to approve that emergency expense. Second, better news, but second update is I just was alerted yesterday that we obtained a $141,000 grant for Safer Streets for All grant, which is a federal grant. Marion Hall's group assisted the township in applying for that grant. This grant is a design grant to take a lot of our transportation plan ideas and put them to an actual plan of action. So, so I'm pleased to announce that. It was just announced, so I don't have any agreements or anything to bring in front of the board, so.
Wow,
That's it.
congratulations.
While you're talking about sinkholes and collapsed systems, my lawn guy was here today to do my lawn, and he called me over, and where you did the piping down Norwood and across Barwood, that very first storm sewer grate up Barwood Road from there, there's a sinkhole that's opened up that's probably about 3 feet deep, directly adjacent to the pipe that goes diagonally across the road over to the stream.
Last year we did what you just mentioned. This year we have it on the schedule to replace the stormwater pipe from there up.
It looks like, well, the hole is about maybe a foot in diameter right now. I can see 3 feet down at an angle underneath, so I think we should get cones out there or something at least.
Alert them here after the meeting.
This was just toward the end of the day, so I didn't.
But that pipe's being replaced at some point this year.
Yep.
That is all.
Okay, the 537 special study. When do we,
That's under ordinances and
we have
resolutions.
that
It's,
tonight?
later, next on the agenda.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, I move for adoption of resolution number 2024-38, approval of Spring Township Act 537 Plan Special Study.
Second.
Jumped the gun on me, but yes. Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, I'll slow down.
And now that we're on ordinances and resolutions, no more questions for the manager on his report, right?
Sorry. I thought you were moving to it because you brought it up. That, yeah.
It was in his report. I was just asking that.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so the next one on ordinances and resolutions is Resolution 2024-39. If my R's aren't. GTRP grant application for Rockburn Park improvements.
I'll move for the adoption of Resolution 2024-39.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor? Any items under old business that anyone would like to bring forward for discussion?
Should we be putting 11th Avenue back on?
I think you're probably right.
Yeah, I think
Don.
we should. We should.
We had like a 2-month reprieve. That was something.
I think it was just 2 meetings.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, and then under new business, we unfortunately have a vacancy on the Board of Auditors. And that is due to the passing of John Norris on April 20th. So I think some discussion on this. Board of Auditors is a 3-member board. The other 2 members being Jeffrey Gay and William Shank. We are not obligated to have a Board of Auditors under townships of the second-class code. So, but the change would have to occur in January 2025.
That's mine, and James could,
Is that your understanding too?
Yeah, the only time you're obligated to have a board of auditors if you're choosing not to use a third-party accounting firm to do your audit. Again, that happens during your reorg, prior to your
Yes.
reorg.
Now, we actually have an audit firm selected, so would we have to wait until the 25th or
Yes, because you've already seated.
2025?
You've already,
We seated our auditors.
now, the other role that a board of auditors serves, and I don't believe any of you fit into this category, is if you're an employee of the township, then that board of auditors would in turn set your compensation. But I don't
Correct.
believe any board member here serves in any compensated capacity outside of being a board member. So those are the 2 main areas where auditors sit in place. So you can address this situation coming up to the 2025 year.
Thoughts on whether or not we should have a Board of Auditors?
You're paying for an accounting firm to do this for you. I don't really see the need to do it, to have them in place.
That was my thought that I expressed to you, Mark.
I agree 100% that there's no need for it, but I think we should keep it.
my,
Do you want to go onto the Board of Auditors?
Pardon me?
You want to be a part of the Board of Auditors?
No, but I don't think it's a terrible thing to have 3 other people that are somehow engaged, however small it is, with Spring Township.
Do these auditors prepare any reports or communicate back?
They don't do anything.
Okay,
It's,
all right.
The,
Just wanted that on the record.
They're just there.
most municipalities, Terry did some research, and most York County municipalities has a board of auditors. I don't know what they do or don't do, but most most second-class municipalities have a board of auditors currently.
Only thing I would ask, and I'm sure we don't know, but how do our auditors feel about being on a committee that doesn't do anything?
we've
a
never
good
had
question.
much trouble getting candidates.
Kind of like having a vacancy board chair that is very willing to serve every year, but has had nothing to do for the last 10 years.
Well, don't we have a vacancy?
Something once.
Don't we have a vacancy now on the auditors?
No,
That's
that's
for
out.
That's for the board, this board,
Only for this board alone.
yeah.
That's only the thing that the vacancy board covers. Okay.
No, the vacancy board has a role in this situation now. If the Board of Supervisors does not appoint somebody for the
Then
vacancy,
that person can.
then that person gets involved, correct?
Oh, that's back up to the board. It's not the other way around, that the vacancy chair doesn't bring us candidates
So we
to the board to
have
approve. Okay.
a vacancy chair that can install an auditor that we don't need on a committee that we're trying to get rid of. Just trying to understand.
Board of Auditors a paid position? Or volunteers? They're volunteers.
They can be compensated if they actually do the audit. Then they're,
But they
and
don't do
it's,
the audit 'cause we pay it.
and I think the state just raised that to like $13 an hour or something. It's,
Wow.
$13 an hour.
it's ridiculously low. If they actually do, if the Board of Auditors actually does the audit, it's, might as well say
Can we
it's
get them to do
volunteer.
it?
Can you wait 2 years for the results?
I guess I would suggest it's kind of like getting a $5 haircut. You're gonna go pay $20 to get it fixed?
Yeah,
Probably wouldn't.
20.
Well, look at my hair. To Mr. Bishop's point about the Board of Auditors, in the event that you aren't able to choose one, a CPA firm, that's why you would have them sitting in place as a backup in the event that you wouldn't be able to find one in those 30 days of advertising prior to the reorganization meeting. So, I mean, yeah, they meet once a year, and it's really, it's entirely up to you whether you would like additional coverage, but, you know, it doesn't hurt to have them.
I mean, it hasn't hurt us in the entire time that I've been on the board. It's never been an issue, so this is the only issue that's ever come up.
Yeah.
And we have a recommendation from Jeff Gay for a replacement. Is that?
He did recommend somebody in his email, but the board could take that recommendation or recommend your own person.
As part of our volunteer engagement discussion, which unfortunately I missed, did we have any plans or ideas to maybe make these sort of vacancies known and advertised to try to generate some interest?
Eventually, what I stated in that meeting was to grow this program to where it is actually advertising all the various boards and commissions and what each board's role is in township operations, but that's not going to happen overnight.
So the only thing that I'll say on that subject is that I'm uncomfortable appointing someone without having any idea who they are.
So I think we do know who the person is that.
We do,
that
to an
has been
extent.
recommended.
I don't.
He has addressed us
Do I?
several times in the past, yes.
Part of camp security?
Yeah.
He probably didn't stand close enough to the mic for me to hear.
Mr. Stayer, who
Strayer.
had,
Is it
Strayer.
Strayer?
Stayer, I think.
Stayer.
Stayer. Yes, so who had all of the artifacts from camp security in the trunk of his car at one point while we were debating taking them up to Harrisburg.
That would be the one.
And this would only be an appointment for the last 7
Months of the,
months of the year.
Until there's an election, right?
Correct.
I'm open to suggestions from the board.
We do have a time limit, right? Before it,
Before we get
The vacancy board.
the vacancy board chair involved,
Yeah.
and
maybe we want to, maybe we want to see if that mechanism works.
I thought of that too, Don.
We're kind of past the 30 days.
are
So
we?
then it should be it
So
should be an event.
should I make a phone call right now?
I believe it's 30 days from the vacancy.
And it was April 20th, so that would be just over.
30 days.
But in your defense, you didn't have a meeting,
Yeah,
and this is the first meeting you had from when we became
Yes.
aware that he passed.
you're going to follow the letter of the law. Yes, you're beyond it, and you would trigger the vacancy chair. But the question is, who would trigger the vacancy chair? It would be the person probably that would want the position, or it would be you. So if you make the decision to appoint right now, I'm not certain that you're putting yourselves in danger. But if you want to follow the letter of the law and see how the vacancy chair does, you can go down that path too. So it's really up to you.
That would be interesting, but probably not.
My
Recommended.
What do we charge, or what do we have to pay the vacancy chair if they have to?
Do they get $13 an hour
They get
also?
13?
I'm pretty sure not. I think it's volunteer. I'm not certain, though.
I move to appoint Mr. Strayer.
Stayer? Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries.
Can we strike the discussion about that so that he never sees it?
Do we want to add this topic to old business as far as for the future?
Yes. I would like to.
So Dory can make that happen.
That would be the Board of Auditors.
Board of Auditors discussion. All right. We have reached the end of our agenda. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.